This is the Galaxy Tab S9 FE. It's the Tab S9 with some of the features pulled out to get the price down. Is it still worthwhile? Let's find out. Hello, my name is Brad. I review tech for creative professionals, and I am so glad that this exists. If you've been around for a while, you know I'm a big fan of the Galaxy Tab lineup, and specifically the S Pen and how well it works on these tablets. There's been a little bit of a hole in the middle of Samsung's tablet lineup for the last few years, and this fits perfectly into it. If you want a tablet with all the bells and all the whistles, go with the S9, the S9 Plus, or the S9 Ultra. If you're on a tight budget, check out the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. It's a great option. But that middle ground has been kind of hit or miss. Last year, there was the Galaxy Tab S7 FE. That was around for a while. It was a little bit larger. It had a larger screen, and so because of that, it was a little bit more expensive. Where now we get two different sizes. There's the Tab S9 FE, which is coming in at 10.9 inches. That's the one that I have here and that I've been testing out. And then there's the Tab S9 FE Plus, which is 12.4 inches, a little bit bigger. Now, Samsung uses the FE on a lot of their products, whether they're phones or tablets, to denote something that kind of has decreased specs to reduce the price. FE stands for Fan Edition. And that is exactly what this tablet does. So not only do we get the two size options here, we have two different price options here. We're starting at $450 for the base version and then $600 for that Plus version. And if you're thinking, hey, drawing on this looks like fun, you would be right. I really like the S Pen. If you'd like to learn how to draw, I have just the place for you to start. My Learn How to Draw in 60 Days course. Every day, new video lesson. We start out basic, we build on those skills every single day. After watching those 60 videos and doing 60 days worth of homework, you have all of the basics you need to tackle some of those harder tutorials and video courses out there. I also have my Intro to Digital Art course, which is asking the question, what do we do with those sketches once we have them? How do we make them shine? How do we polish them, finish them off? And we go over a lot of those Intro to Digital Art things, tools that you find in many of these programs. More information on my website, bradsartschool.com, link down below in the description to learn more. So in the box, we have, well, not much really. We have the tablet and we have a USB Type-C cable. This is a bring your own power adapter sort of deal. I'm kind of mixed on this. This is something Samsung's been doing ever since Apple stopped shipping these with their iPhones, but Apple still gives you power chargers with your iPad. To me, this feels more like a laptop experience that should have a power adapter than a phone, but you know, whatever. I also got a smart cover. It's not really that smart. It's just a cover that connects to it magnetically. It works well. It's a nice little stand. This is a pre-order bonus when I bought this off of Samsung's website about a week back. This device also works with a type cover, so if you want that more laptop-y experience. I've never really been a fan of Samsung's keyboard covers, so I ended up skipping this one. It's the trackpad that gets me. The trackpad just feels kind of icky on Android. I don't know. They haven't quite nailed that experience yet. Now, even though they've lowered the price, this is still a very premium feeling tablet. It has an all aluminum back and it comes in 4 colors. There's mint, lavender, gray, and the color I chose, silver. This is a really good looking display. It's not as good as what you may find on the S9 line, step down because it's an IPS display, but it's got a solid resolution at 2,304 pixels by 1,440 pixels. That's a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. It's also worth noting that this is running at 90 Hertz. The top of the line tablets are running at 120. Most devices, most phones in this price range only run at 60 Hertz. So that little bump, it's kind of nice, as does some cool animations, and just kind of generally a smoother experience when using the tablet. Inside, we have an Exynos 1380 processor. It comes in 2 configurations. One with 6 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage. For $70 more, you can get it with a little bit more RAM, 8 gigabytes, with 256 gigabytes of storage. And if you end up going with the FE Plus, you're going to be getting more RAM there, but the same storage options still apply. And if you decide to be cheap and not go for the more storage, like I did, down the road, you can always use the micro SD card slot that's included here to expand the storage on your own on the cheap. Performance-wise, this feels fine. You know, drawing, moving around between apps, consuming content. It's hard to tell the difference for me between this and the standard S9 Ultra I've been using for the last few months. Even though, if you go online and check out the benchmarks, the S9 is a whopping 2 times faster in CPU performance and in gaming performance. It's one of those things that over time, you might notice. You might get an extra year or two out of a standard S9 product before it starts slowing down. Or if you're doing video production, or if you're doing a lot of gaming, that's where that performance is going to come in. But for drawing, you're good. StepSug has still included a lot of features, even though a few of them are maybe a step down from the standard S9. For example, there's a fingerprint scanner on the button instead of underneath the screen. There's only 2 stereo speakers, although they do sound really good still. There's a USB Type-C port, that's for charging. You can also transfer files that way. It's only a V2 version of USB Type-C, so there's no video out here. Unlike a phone, they've saved the best camera for the front. This is a 12-pixel ultra-wide. Which makes sense because most people use the front-facing camera on a tablet for video conferencing more than they use the back cameras, which is only an 8-megapixel wide angle for taking photos and scanning QR codes. Now, if you do go with the Plus, they've added a second lens there, so that's going to give you a little bit more camera power on the larger tablet. Another thing that Samsung has added here is water resistance. Not something that I would expect in a tablet this size, but, you know, nice addition. Now, I talk about the S Pen all the time. It comes in the box, so you don't have to drop a lot of extra money on that. It's got a little bit of a rubber tip on it, so it provides a little bit of drag on that smooth glass screen. And the lines I get out of it are really smooth, they're really accurate. Side by side, I do still prefer the Apple Pencil experience. It just has better palm rejection. I like the wider tip of the Apple Pencil. It just feels more organic, especially when you add like a textured screen protector in there. I love the feel of that. That's something this doesn't have. You can get harder nosed tips for this pen, and you could add a screen protector too. Even though it's still going to be a smaller surface area, you're going to get a similar experience. But you're not giving up a lot with this S Pen. It's lightweight, it's easy to adapt to and use. After a few minutes of sketching, it just feels like home. It's using Wacom's tech under the hood, so yeah, it's really nice stylus, more than enough to get the job done. Now, I will admit, I am a spoiled little brat here. I have been using the giant Galaxy Tab Ultra for the last few months, so I'm used to drawing on a really big screen. And when I decided to get the smaller version of this tablet, I was wondering, you know, am I really going to miss that real estate? And I didn't. Really. I think it's because most Android apps are designed to be lightweight without a lot of interface elements, so it was just absolutely fine. It's probably more comfortable to hold for a long stretch of time, if I'm being honest, than the larger S9. It's definitely easier to read on and consume content on. I played around a little bit in Krita, which is now available for Android. That is a straight up port of the desktop app, and it's still very usable here. One of the main things that I'm looking for is, okay, there's a lot of interface elements. Can I hit them? Can I navigate them? And even on the 10.9-inch screen, yeah, I was fine. Clip Studio Paint has something similar going on. This is one of my personal favorites, what I've been drawing with throughout this video. It also has a lot of interface stuff, but they just introduced a new simple mode that's available for iOS and Android, and drawing in that is a freaking dream. Gives you all the tools you need. You go to the main interface if any tools aren't available to you there. I love it. I made a whole video on it, just like fanboying about this mode. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. Like I said at the top, this is a great price range. As much as I love the S6 Lite, it's not really a great processor. It's going to be slowing down only after a few years of use. Now, the S9 line is going to last a really long time, but it's also significantly more expensive. And I think for a lot of creatives, this is really going to be the sweet spot, that affordability area, $500, $450, like that's where it's at. I think if you can afford this over the S6 Lite, this is the way to go. Whenever a company asks, how do we reduce the price of our flagship device, they have to cut features, right? And what features you cut are really important. This is fresh in my mind because just earlier this week, Apple announced that their new Apple Pencil is not going to have pressure sensitivity. That's the way they've decided to save money. They removed that, and to me, that's the wrong feature to remove. Samsung here, for my needs, is removing all of the right things. A good but not a great processor. A good, actually better than good display. It's not the top of the line screen that they have. It's not one of their super AMOLED displays, but this is a really nice LCD panel. There's little tweaks, like they've downgraded the fingerprint reader, they've downgraded the speakers, but they still sound good, it still works well. So yeah, this gets 2 thumbs up for me. If you were looking at the S9 and thinking, man, I really want that, but I can't quite afford that, the S9 FE and the FE Plus really fill that space perfectly. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.